The episode begins inside the steady hum of a heavyweight training sanctuary, not a Hollywood-style production set, but a place where sweat dries on old leather and discipline hangs in the air like incense. It feels less like a gym and more like a craftsman's forge. Every sound, every breath, every footstep belongs to a man shaping himself for something immense. In the center of it all is Anthony Joshua, moving with a calm maturity that only comes from being broken down and rebuilt. Not once, but many times. His presence is quiet but gravitational. Episode 1 of the All Access series doesn't try to glamorize him. Instead, it strips away the mythos and reveals the machinery beneath. This isn't AJ the billboard icon. This isn't AJ the pay-per-view attraction. This is AJ the laborer, the heavyweight who wakes up before sunrise, who studies his own flaws with brutal honesty, who steps into the gym with the weight of a legacy on his shoulders and the memory of past defeats echoing in his mind. He is preparing for a fight that some believe is unnecessary, a fight surrounded by spectacle, memes, hot takes, and skepticism. A clash with Jake Paul that has the sporting world split between disbelief and morbid fascination. But Joshua walks into the gym with a different perspective. He treats it not as a circus, but as an assignment, a responsibility, a chance to redefine the arc of his story. His physique immediately commands attention. He doesn't just look powerful. He looks engineered with intention. Muscles coil and uncoil with mechanical precision, like components in a weapon system. Even the smallest movements betray a dormant violence. A simple shadow punch, thrown casually between warm-ups, snaps with a sharpness that reminds you who he is and what he's capable of. That punch becomes a metaphor for the quiet question that has trailed him since his last knockout defeat. What can be rebuilt? What can be reforged sharper than before? Once the pad work begins, the gym's atmosphere transforms. His coach calls out combinations, not with urgency, but with the patience of a sculptor chiseling away imperfections. Joshua's fists answer in rhythm, a blend of elegance and brutality, grace and destruction. He makes micro-corrections mid-combination, tightening angles, refining foot placement, adjusting the arc of a hook by a fraction of an inch. These details, boring to most, are everything to him. Netflix's cameras capture this with a closeness rarely seen. The focus in his eyes, the way his breaths sync with his punches, the subtle twitch of his muscles as he transitions from explosion to relaxation. There's a beauty in it, the beauty of mastery, of craft, of purpose-driven sweat. Then the physical workload intensifies. Weighted sleds, resistance bands, core circuits that force him to reach into reserves only he understands. His frame moves like a machine built not for appearance, but for performance. Every drill announces the same message. He's not training to impress. He's training to deliver. But the episode goes deeper than the physical. It digs into the tension between social media narratives and the real life of a heavyweight. Joshua's team addresses the viral photos and rumors that swirl whenever he's seen outside at night. The claims, the opinions, the noise. But inside the camp, everything is measured. Bedtimes monitored. Diet structured. Recovery sessions tracked with scientific precision. For a heavyweight, there is no pretending. Power won't save you when your legs fade. Fame won't protect you when exhaustion hits. Everything, stamina, timing, composure, resilience, must be polished until the margins of error disappear. Then sparring begins, and the tone shifts again. It becomes a controlled chaos, a rehearsal for war. Partners rotate in and out, each one embodying a different layer of the Jake Paul puzzle. Some replicate the awkward rhythm Paul developed through years of unorthodox training. Some bring pressure. Some rely on speed. Some test Joshua's patience. And through every exchange, Joshua becomes the version of himself fans rarely get to witness. The thinker. The analyst. The problem solver. He replays mistakes in his head seconds after making them. He nods to sparring partners after absorbing a tricky shot, acknowledging the feedback. He resets, breathes, adjusts his guard, and begins again. These sequences capture not just a fighter in preparation, but a man reacquainting himself with the raw science of combat. After sparring, the heavy bag becomes a thunder drum. Each punch detonates against it with force that reverberates through the room. He changes rhythms constantly. Savage bursts one round, slow technical exploration the next. He experiments with torque, with pivot points, with the transfer of weight from hip to glove. In these moments, He looks less like a boxer and more like a storm studying how to strike with maximum destruction. Away from the violence, softer moments ground the episode. Joshua checking his breathing apparatus, sharing small jokes with teammates, discussing adjustments with coaches. These scenes don't soften him. They reveal the emotional and psychological architecture beneath the muscle. We see a man carrying the expectations of a nation, of fans, of critics. A man aware of the whispers that followed his last loss, aware of how quickly the boxing world decides when a fighter is finished. But the fire inside him hasn't dimmed. It hasn't flickered. It simply changed shape. Outside the gym walls, the world debates. David Haye speaks with urgent caution, warning that Jake Paul may have crossed a line he cannot return from. He insists the matchup is not just unbalanced, it is dangerous, even life-threatening. Haye's alarm comes from familiarity. He knows what an emotionally centered, physically tuned Anthony Joshua looks like, and he does not like Jake Paul's chances. But not everyone agrees. Medical professionals and ringside experts counter the panic. They point to AJ's age, the wear and tear, the fact that Jake Paul, despite polarizing the combat world, has improved undeniably. Some even argue the fight could last all 8 rounds. This contrast, fear versus logic, risk versus opportunity, becomes a thematic undercurrent of the episode. And then we shift to Jake Paul's world. His camp reacts with shock. His mother worries, her voice cracking with genuine fear. His father oscillates between disbelief and pride. Logan Paul speaks with a kind of reverent amazement, a mixture of brotherly concern and recognition of the magnitude of the moment. Their reactions strip away the influencer theatrics and reveal the truth. Jake Paul is stepping into something historically dangerous. Jake, for his part, embraces the challenge with a familiar defiance. He frames the fight as the answer to every accusation thrown at him since he entered the sport. That he only fought retired MMA fighters, that he only fought smaller men, that he never fought someone with true boxing pedigree. Now, he is facing a heavyweight, a former unified world champion, a man whose knockout power has turned giants into dust. Whether critics like it or not, Jake Paul is now in a real fight, one that will permanently alter the story of his career. As the episode approaches its conclusion, the pacing slows, becoming almost reflective. Joshua stands at the center of the gym after another brutal session, sweat dripping, chest heaving, but eyes calm. There is a sense of inevitability hanging over everything.